Wow. Gabby Marinello, one of our, well, how long have I known you now?
2, 3 years probably.
2, 3 years? Yeah, more, probably 3 or 4. Um, I remember when you first reached out to me about getting started. You want to talk a little bit about your career? Like, Gabby Marinello is the CEO and founder of Beautiful Minds Clinical Research in Florida. Where specifically in Florida, Gabby?
Cutler Bay, near the Homestead area.
Okay, near Homestead, Florida. And she's a client of ours. So full disclosure, she is part of the SCS network of clients where we help sites across the country get studies, do their budgets, help them with source, um, all kinds of different things. And Gabby has been somebody who, like, you guys are pretty successful and you're in an extremely competitive market. Like, Florida is one of the most competitive, not one of the most competitive market. And
Yeah, it
you
is.
guys, and I talked to Chris, you guys are doing really well. I did a little bit of prep yesterday by talking to Chris, who deals more with the clients than I do. But man, I remember when you first started out. So let's talk a little bit about what you did before you started the site. Like, who are you, Gabby?
Well, I own a PPEG, which is a nursing facility for children with like that require nursing on a daily basis.
Okay.
Um, and from there, I decided to open. Actually, I thought that I was gonna open like a regular medical, like a doctor's office, and then I ended up in the research. I decided to just open the research. I already had experience on that side, so I was like, okay, but it's kind of like very different from what I was used to. So you came along when that happened, so that
Wow.
changed.
So what made you like open your eyes? Like, okay, you were already in the healthcare industry. So you're an entrepreneur. Let's go even before that. You're an entrepreneur in your DNA. You have obviously business acumen. I mean, who starts like a rehab centers as a business? Like, when did you start getting into like entrepreneurship?
Um, um, I don't know. I actually I got my MBA and I sort of like started playing with that and somehow life
Wow.
into that direction.
Okay. Okay. So grew up in Florida, all that
Hmm.
stuff. Okay. Wow. All right. So what made you open your eyes to research, like as a business?
I guess it was just like the people that I was working with. I didn't really even think of opening a research center. But then eventually I was like, okay, it's probably a lot better than a medical facility per se, but it's kind of different.
And now that you've done both, is it better?
I do love it, but it's a lot of work.
Which one's
It's
more work? Which one's more work?
I think personally, I think research. But then
Okay.
again, I'm managing a lot of different businesses, so I guess it kind of gets very stressful sometimes.
Yeah.
But research is fun. It is
Research
fun.
is funner. What makes it fun, like in your opinion?
Like just recruitment, like recruiting patients and like trying new drugs and like following the protocol. Like everything is like so like if you follow like if you follow a protocol, if you read the pharmacy manual, if you read like the lab, like everything is in there. Like
Yeah.
there's no for you to like, you know what I'm saying?
Last time I read a lab manual was recently because I haven't done it, and we have a lot of parallels between me and you because you started your site 3 years ago now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or less. How long have you Beautiful Minds been around?
Since 2020, I think
2020. So
2020.
about 2 years. There's no Chick-fil-A, Katie? Oh, you didn't go? Okay. Katie here, she's our coordinator. The office has Chick-fil-A from a sales rep. We can talk about sales reps in a bit. Yeah, go back when they calm down. And oh, here's a perfect thing, Katie. I told you this person, but it's good for the podcast. And I'm gonna ask Gabby this too. Medical science liaison. We have a rep in the office bringing Chick-fil-A, which is great, but we need to strive beyond Chick-fil-A. We need to get studies. So Katie is gonna go talk to the rep because I'm doing this podcast with you. I can't go in there with the rep, so she's gonna go get a sandwich and then tell them, "I need your MSL so that we can get studies." Katie's learning. So there you go, Katie. Thank you, Gabby. Do you do that at your site? Are you like part of a private practice, or are you standalone?
Standalone. But
Standalone. Okay.
I'm actually like expanding into that. We got an extra office in the same building, and that's gonna be like I'm opening my own facility for.
Wow. Okay, we gotta unpack a lot of that. So, 2020, you started this
Hmm.
during COVID, or like right before
Yeah, in
COVID,
the
or
middle. And
in the
and
middle of COVID? You didn't care.
no.
And that was good. And that must have been the time that you reached out to me. And then I remember you because I talked to you a lot more than many other clients, and you just kept asking questions, but the questions you were asking were actually good questions from what I remember. So, and it sounded like when you were talking to me that you did your homework. Like you didn't just ask me what I put in my videos. You actually did all that, and you were asking like further. I don't mind having those conversations with people. And so I think I told you, hey, Miami's super competitive,
Yeah.
but if you get the right PI, so did you already have your PI in place when you had the idea?
I did. It didn't work out. The second
What?
PI
Your
didn't work
first
out
PI
either.
doesn't work out? Go figure. I've been telling people this all the time. Our first one, the one we're here with, is not our first one.
No.
So yeah, the first one almost never works out. So what
Yeah.
happened? Why it didn't work out?
Um, we got hit with an audit, and in the middle of the audit, I don't think he could handle the stress, and he just walked out in the middle of the audit, and it wasn't good.
In your office or his office?
In my office.
Okay,
Yeah.
one that you already. He said he's done in the middle of the audit.
Yeah, which is so irresponsible, but
Wow. And
mhm,
were you and the auditor just looking at each other like, this will be
pretty
interesting, or?
pretty much. You're like, okay, now what?
But that goes to show you that really, like, okay, so that was still under Beautiful Minds, right?
Hmm.
That goes to show you that it's the PI really that's responsible, and it's the PI's name, not necessarily the site's name, for the good or the bad, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, walking out of audit's pretty bad. I'm assuming the audit didn't go that well, but it hasn't prevented you from getting future studies with your new PI.
No, it actually went well. That's the funny thing. Actually, it was very ironic because everything was okay, and then I guess it was just like the stress.
He
He
got
couldn't
scared.
handle it. Yeah, he got scared,
Was it a
and
sponsor or FDA audit?
it was a sponsor audit. So
Oh, that's not that scary.
right, so everything was okay, and then he just like I don't know. It was too much, and
It
even
always happens.
and to be honest with you, after like because we after all that happening, it's been I actually like audits, which is funny.
You like audits.
I do. Like you learn so much. It's crazy.
Do your
Like
coordinators like audits?
no, I'm just I do like audits. Like
Are you
it
hands on? Do you meet with the auditor, or do you?
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And right now I'm more like you. I don't do like on like I'm not doing the daily stuff just
Hmm.
because like I need to do like the budgets and all the contracting stuff. But I am very like I know what's going on and I need to make
But
sure
you're
that
having
every
Chris. Chris is doing the budgets, though, no?
no, not anymore.
No. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I found a new thing that I told Chris to start implementing. He came up with a amendment to the overhead policy for to account for inflation, but I came up with something for the electronic systems updates. So because we're using Creo and eventually we're going to use things like FIFA and other kind of platforms. Okay, so you're able to step back and focus on the biz dev, contracts, getting studies. We were networking before we started recording about new studies, and we will after as well. But so your first PI left, which I don't know how, guys, but I tell everybody this. It just that's how it happens. If you start a new site, almost
Hmm.
90% of the time, unless they're your blood relative or like a very good friend, your first PI will leave for some reason. Usually it's because they didn't get paid fast enough, but sometimes it's because, like in your case, they get scared of an audit or they just realize, like, hey, this is a lot of work. I didn't sign up for this. And then the ironic thing is, your second PI comes in and they don't experience any of these problems because your business is already established. This is exactly what happened here, too. Our first one, we didn't end up working with him because his office was too small, but we were having him do GCP. We were actually got him a study, and then he did some things I didn't really like. It was like early red flags to me, so I actually left him because I know my rule that the first one will always leave you. So I was like, well, he's like eventually gonna leave, so I'm gonna just bypass that and say goodbye right now. And then the
So,
second one we got much better.
what are the usual red flags that you see when you're like, "Oh, I'm trying to check a PI"?
For him, it was
Like,
a few red flags. The first one was his practice was not very big. He used to be a big time private practice doctor here in Yuma. And over the years, due to his unwillingness to deal with Medicare, and who could blame him? Like dealing with billing and all that stuff, he's like, you know what? I'm over it. I'm gonna become a boutique practice. So he's like an old school doctor where his patients pay him privately a monthly basis, it's like a gym membership. They pay him monthly basis, and he'll even go to their house to see them. They can come to his office. He gives them their cell phone number. So he's got like a very boutique practice. The problem is his patients are of the wealthiest segment of this town. So they're very picky about the kind of studies they want to do. So that was the first red flag. It wasn't even something I can blame him about. It just wasn't like I knew it wasn't going to work out for research unless we start advertising. The second thing was his office was small. And the third thing that I started seeing, and I had to end it early, was passive aggressiveness on his part.
oh wow,
And so I had to end it fast on that third one because I was like, you know what, I can deal with like all different kind of personality, but when it comes to somebody who he was showing early signs of that was going to be a problem. So that was it for me. And then I found the next guy, Dr. Smith, at Up to Par. It's Yuma's biggest and best reviewed private practice. They actually have two locations. So no problem finding patients of any type, internal medicine. And then we got a dermatologist next door, and we're just signing up a neurologist now. So that's my story. But back to your story, only since you asked, but back to your story, like your second one, how did you get that person?
he was actually the sub PI, so he was already like he was aware of the whole protocol, the situation. He knew, and that's why it worked out because he was very hands on. So as soon as the other one walked out, he was able to jump in, and everything worked out. But
I see.
that's that's the interesting part, and I
Does
think that PIs is that they can actually make it or break it, like they
oh,
especially when
that's
you're starting.
it begins and ends with the PI. Like no matter how good your coordinators are, If your PI doesn't show up to
Hmm.
monitor visits or doesn't come to sign papers, like, we're lucky with our two PIs now, and our third one I think is very hands-on too. But yeah, the first one was like a little less hands-on, and I think there was some issues. So does your current PI, does he have a private practice offsite?
Yeah. My current PI has three practices. He's a medical director, but he also sees patients, and he also has the capability to go to the hospitals.
Wow,
So,
okay. So give us like a little insight into his private practice setup and why you chose to still have like your own site. Was it just a space issue, or what was the reason for that? I'm actually curious.
in what sense? What do you mean?
Like why would you have, I know you got your space before your current PI even became your PI. But like why not just do it in their office, or if they have three, like why not do it, in
Well,
their offices?
he's in a group practice, so it's not his. It's not only his. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. And I had already
Okay.
my space, so I'd rather, since I already have the pool, I have the database, so there was no reason really for me to go into
I
their space.
gotcha. Okay. That makes more sense. Okay. So that shows you that it can work, guys. It's all about the
Yeah.
PI and the patients. And so the first study that your first PI abandoned, um, what was your next study? Like how quickly did you get it for the new
And
PI?
I don't know. I, s- I think it was like a month after that. It was the same sponsor too. So
The same sponsor. Okay. And were these like leads you were getting from us, like from DSCS that you were just following up with, or
um
refresh my memory?
it wasn't. But I think uh the first one that we got us into the CRO's database, and as soon as you're in there, like you get automatically, like if you fit the profile, you get the invitation. And I think that's how we got the first one. Um so after the audit, we finished that one, and they were gonna do like two more studies, and they liked us and they invited us, and we participated. And after that, we participated in three more studies after that. So it's been good.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, so I guess now that you've been doing it 2 years, so you've been doing it your site like a year longer than my site, Clinical Trials. I'm a year into it. What have been like your challenges in the first year, and then what have been your challenges in the second year? Like when did you hire your first coordinator?
Well, I had to hire us as soon as 2 months into opening my, because I started getting like different protocols, so I hired. But
Okay.
yeah, and after that, I have three coordinators, two labs, and then the PIs, the PIs, and
It's starting to come back to me now. I remember when Clubhouse was popular in the summer of 2020. I was telling you, and now I'm not on Clubhouse anymore, but I was telling you, Gabby, join us, for Clubhouse. And you were like, Dan, I don't have time. I'm busy. And so
I
that must
know.
have been that time period, right? Where it was you and somebody else, but you were training them.
Yeah, yeah, and at that time, I was doing the CRC too, so I was a CRC and doing everything else with the.
That's right. And you did the CRC Academy, right?
Yeah,
How
yeah,
was
it's really
that?
good, actually, it's really good. Every time that I get a new CRC, I sing them.
Thank
I
you.
sing.
Okay. Katie's in the CRC Academy. Supposedly she's the best student in the class. Is this
That's
true?
awesome.
I don't know. I don't can't say
You
anything
better
else. It's
be.
great.
She's on her third month here, so she's got to be the best student. If not, then we have a really good student in that class somewhere. Okay, so CRC, you had a good experience in the CRC Academy. You took it yourself first, and then what about your first hire? Like, your first hire came soon. Did you find an experienced coordinator, or was it like an MA or CNA, or who did you
I had
hire?
experience, but I still sent her.
Okay, so you hired an experienced coordinator, and you still sent her to CFC Academy.
Yeah, yeah.
And what did she think of the class?
She liked it. She liked it.
Okay, and is she still with you today?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. We got to interview her one day. So she was your employee number one,
Hmm.
and then employee number two came. You have two now, right? Two full time.
Yeah, and I had another one, but she decided to join the army. So
Okay, okay. Can't compete with that. All right, so it's right now it's you and two coordinators. Do you have like anyone else like recruiters or assistants or anything, or is it just you guys?
no, for now it's just us. We do have contractors, but not like on a full-time basis.
Okay. What do the contractors do?
Like it kind of depends. Like for anything that has to do with recruitment and stuff like that, whenever we need to
Okay,
recruit, then we'll bring them on board. But
okay.
when we're not, we don't need them, then we don't use them.
And so your PI, the current PI that's with you, how many studies in those 2 years? Because it's about year two now for you, right? Like almost completed year two.
Yeah.
How many studies have you had so far?
And those 2 years
Yeah.
or in 1 year.
Yeah, in the first 2 years, like from when you started till now, how many studies have you had, do you think?
I think we've done like probably 15.
15? Wow.
Yeah.
Were they like, can you name some of the indications? I know you mentioned COVID. What were some of the other ones?
Migraine, COPD. We're doing asthma and Alzheimer's too. So we're doing
Wow,
a little
okay.
everything.
Good for you, Gabby. And this is with an internal medicine doctor?
Yep.
Okay. Have you run into issues where, because that's the same setup I have, and my first study, we got a derm study from my
Hmm.
internal medicine doctor, and the sponsor was like, yeah, it's okay, but you need a sub-I dermatologist, board certified. And so I asked my PI, and he's like, yeah, across the street, I have a colleague. So then he became our second PI. He's a derm. So we do derm studies with him across the street. And over here, we kind of do everything else. So have you run into those kind of issues also with sponsors?
We have, but usually they'll give us the chance to have our PI as the PI, and then the specialist it'll be a sub I. And
Okay,
to
so
be
you have them specialists.
yes, yeah, we do. We do have the specialist, but we rather go into the PI to be the internal medicine and then have the specialist, because over here specialists are very like super busy,
Hmm.
so we
Here
need a
too.
PI and be on top of stuff.
Here too. They're super busy. I wish I could videotape like when we go into our dermatologist office. I mean, he's triple
Insane.
booked for every hour and he still does the research. He had us come in at 7 a.m. today before he starts his regular practice at 8 just to see our patients. We had two patients this morning. So, yeah, Katie's been up since 7. She's been up since probably 5, but she's used to it. You like working with both PIs?
Yeah, I like both of them.
They both have their pros and cons.
Harris is scary.
Yeah, dermatologists can be pretty intense, but
Oh, very much into the work.
the specialists are, yeah, the specialists are into their work.
But he's
Um,
your PI,
yeah,
the
we have
thermal.
two PIs. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's interesting because I mean we can unpack it as much as you're comfortable sharing, but our PI here, the first guy, initially started, or the second one that became our main one, Dr. Smith. I'm sitting in his office right now. Um, he started out as a contractor for us, but we offered him partnership in Yuma Clinical Trial in the LLC. And the selling point to him was, hey, if we partner with other specialists in town, we can create like mini sites for them. So we give them equity in their sites too. But Yuma Clinical Trial owns a part of all of it. So because you're the first one and you're the internal medicine, so you have like the patient database to feed all of them. It'd be good to be a partner, equity partner, and then this is how we plan to expand. So that's been my strategy here. Is like the next one now is a neurologist that just agreed for me to find him studies.
So,
So
but what
that's
do you
kind
mean
of the strategy we've been doing.
satellite offices? Would they be
Yeah,
satellite offices or different offices?
different offices. So we don't have our own space like you yet. I think by early next year we probably will. Just for like space issues, because we only have 6 studies, and we're really only recruiting for 2 right now and 2 starting soon. So we're like early still, but I can already see. I mean, the boxes are already like stacking up in this, and this is the office with more room. The dermatologist has almost no room in his office. So yes, Yuma Clinical Trials, that's the hub. And then if we find a specialist, we start off as a contractor with them. Most of the time, they've been wanting to partner as well. So we make a smaller LLC for them. Like our dermatology, we do dermatology research ventures. But Yuma Clinical Trials owns majority of it. And then we give that PI equity in that company too. But our main PI owns equity in all of them because it's through Yuma Clinical Trials. So like same thing will be with the neurologist. We're going to start out as a contractor, but he already told me he's ready to start another LLC. So just more LLCs, but like they all lead back to Yuma Clinical Trial. And then we have the infrastructure, because it's still a small town, to feed it all with our staff. And so that's how it works. Sometimes sponsors are confused, but not really. Usually just requires like a note to file. Explaining like the situation, and they're okay with it.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It makes sense for here, but like in a bigger market, and I think in a bigger market, like in LA, where I came from, it would be tough to do that because, like, let's say Katie's here. Let's say we were in Irvine, right? And my dermatologist, let's say, is in San Bernardino. That's like an hour away, but in LA traffic, that's like 2 hours away. So there's no way I would send Katie over there. Like we would have to have our own staff over there. And over here it works because it's smaller, so you can just go. Like you can be across town in 20 minutes, and there's almost never traffic. So that's why it makes sense for this city where we're in. But in like a bigger city, I think this model wouldn't make sense as much.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about like a satellite office in like a completely new state? Like let's say that you have it over here and then you have one here. Like how would that even work?
We're doing that. We found another dermatologist in this city about 40 minutes away called Imperial, California. And with my colleague Judy Galindo, we're in talks to start another LLC with that PI there to do derm studies for her. But Yuma Clinical Trial will still be like a part owner of that new site. But we won't expand further than like 40 minutes out of this core area. Like if I were to do a site in San Diego, I would just have a completely different staff and everything, like not even connected to.
Yeah. But you wouldn't run the study in your facility, just
Oh,
at
I
the
see what you're saying. We have on our 1572, we have all locations. So right
okay.
now it's just this office with our main PI, and then our dermatologist PI, his office. So on studies for both PIs, we put both locations just because, well, no. With studies for the derm, we put both locations because there's not enough space sometimes for monitors there, so they can monitor here. Um, but for studies with our PI, we don't put the other location because there's enough space here. So, but if we ever need to, like I was just telling you, we're probably going to rent our own space next year somewhere. But we're still going to have all these offices. So on our 1572, we put down the addresses as we need. You know, we're not just going to put more locations just for fun, but if it serves a strategical purpose, like monitoring space, excess storage for supplies, patient unscheduled visits. Sometimes it's hard to get a patient unscheduled visit in a specialist office because they're really busy and they don't need to see the PI maybe for that visit. So they can just come here and do an unscheduled visit if it's just a blood draw or something. So it just makes sense. And again, I think it makes sense because it's a smaller town where patients are not that inconvenienced to just go to different places.
Because right now you're inside of a doctor's office already, or you have your own
Yeah,
space?
no, both spaces. Yeah, we don't have our own space yet. I think that's the next step is to get our own space, but probably gonna be like early 2023. I'm trying to delay it as much as I can to not have the extra expense because I rather
Yeah.
just hire more people than have a lease if I can. But at some point, it's unavoidable. Like you just get run out of space. I mean, look,
Yeah.
this is from one study.
Yep.
This is just shipping boxes. This is not even like all study material. These are just shipping boxes for one study, and it's for our dermatologist. And there's no way we can fit this in his office right now.
That's a lot.
So yeah, so imagine like you get 5 more studies before the year's over. I mean, we're gonna run out of space soon. So
And that's
that's
the thing, space in your office is like super important. It
yeah.
is.
Luckily here we have a upstairs where monitors can go. So there's like they're not even this practice is not even using the upstairs. So there's like a desk there and we've already had our monitoring visit and it went well. Like so it's working out so far and just knock on wood we can keep it going like longer until we have to commit to a lease. But you did it right off the bat. You did it right off the bat. So that adds extra pressure, right? Because you have to sign the lease. You had to personally guarantee it.
Yep.
Or did you work it out where you didn't have to personally guarantee it?
No, over here you have to do personal guarantee everywhere you go. But the good thing is that when I got it, it wasn't so expensive. Now everything's like super expensive.
Oh, that's right, because Florida had an influx in people.
Oh yeah.
You can sublease it. If worst case scenario, you could just sublease it and profit.
Yeah,
Wow.
everything is so expensive. Rent, like any type of rent, commercial, residential, but commercial is like super, like beyond.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to make another trip out to Miami soon. We'll do a podcast in person. Um, okay, so 15 studies, like approximately how many patients do you guys see on like in a week, on average
Mm,
week?
well, it does depend. Right now, we're closing a few, and we're gonna start some new ones. But when we're like super um busy, we're seeing like 40, 50 patients a day. So it was,
What?
yeah,
40, 50 patients a day?
yeah. It was
These
intense.
must be easy studies, though.
Yeah. Well, those were COVID ones. But the thing with COVID is like it's like everything's like so like everything is like super tight. You have to see like what 15 visits in a month. So when it's everything like
Okay.
that, 50 subjects, in a day,
Wow. Are you kidding?
you're seeing like 50 subjects every day for like 2 months straight.
But you don't have that many assessments per patient, per visit in those kind of studies, right?
Well, the usual like the physical exam, like the nasal swab, the blood, what else?
Wow.
Body stuff like that.
So you can get like, let's say one patient, you can get them out of there in what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
It depends. Like screening, it takes forever, but baseline, it's probably a little bit longer too, like maybe 2-3 hours. But then after that, it's a
Oh
little bit.
my God, Gabby, you're like even more of my hero now. Katie, they do, and when they're very busy, they do 40 visits a day.
What are the results?
Yeah, it's just blood, nasal swab for COVID, and physical. Like she said, screenings are still long.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's I can't imagine doing like 50 dermatology visits a day. It's just, the assessments take longer, I think, but that's still like not bad. So like for what about for your non-COVID study? Like let's say migraine. How many patients like on a week do you see for that study?
Um, for like 10 in a week,
Okay.
but like visits.
Well, that's still very good, but the now it's coming back down to earth. Yeah. Okay. So those COVID ones, I know some colleagues in Phoenix who did COVID studies, and they were also saying the same thing. Like, man, we were getting these patients in and out so fast. But most studies, um, you're doing like 2 visits a day, maybe, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, because
yeah,
that's the
that
thing.
makes more sense.
You can always move them around, but you don't get that with COVID. Like for regular studies, you'll get probably like a month for screening, and
Hmm.
then +3, +5
Hmm.
window minus or
Hmm.
whatever. But with COVID, it's like 2 days, -2 days,
Wow.
-day, and then
Yeah.
screening is like 4 days. That's it.
But your coordinators are still writing like progress notes and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
And you're checking AEs and all that stuff. So it's still like a lot of work on the back end, data entry, answering
Mhm.
queries. Like that's almost full
That's
time job. If you're doing 40 a day, that's almost full time job just to answer the data.
Yep. Yeah, it was intense. We like when we were doing that, we were pretty much working for like from 5 to like probably like 12 p.m. And it was like for like 2, 3 months straight. Every like
Wait,
weekend,
5 a.m. till lunch or 5 a.m.
5
till
a.m. to
midnight?
like midnight. Yeah, and then repeat.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was intense.
Now that my coordinator left, so how do you incentivize them to do this?
Mhm. Money.
I think women are better managers than men. So how do you do this? I'm trying to pick your brain here.
I did. I gave a lot of bonus. That worked,
Okay.
and we also get our hairs done.
You get your hair done. Imagine me offering that to our staff.
Hairstyler to my office.
Really? So you bring somebody to come in and do hair?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
but I mean it
Um,
works.
so what if you don't mind sharing, like, and if you don't feel comfortable sharing, just say, Dan, stop asking this. But like, do you want to get like more specific on the incentive you do, or like compensation? Maybe if you don't want to give a number, just like the theory behind it.
um, I honestly don't know. I didn't have like a set amount. If we were doing great, then I would just give them a bonus every week or so. It kind of depends.
Okay, so it's more informal. Like, hey, gals, this is gonna be a busy week, but if we do well at the end of this week, I'm gonna take care of you guys.
Well, it was more like a at the end when everything was done, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do like I didn't incentivize them in that way.
Okay,
That or,
okay.
okay, just come in and I'll give you this. No, I didn't do that way. It was more like um we did everything, and I was like, okay, they deserve it.
Wow. I agree, but that's gotta be tough to maintain during like 40 visits a day for what, like 3 months, 4 months? How long
Mm,
was this going on?
yeah, it went for a while.
So just hair, like here, get people in here, do your hair and nails. I know sites that have done masseuses in the office. Like when you're entering data, somebody come and give you a massage. I've actually heard of that work before, but we're definitely not at that stage yet.
Well, I
Our
it
busiest
worked.
week has been they work a lot. Our busiest week so far has been 7 visits in a week, and we did that 3 weeks in a row. And then after that, we had like a pause in screening, and we're just starting to come out of that again. So we're not consistent yet. It's our first year, but now going into our second year with more studies, I want to get consistent to at least 7 a week every week for the next quarter, and then like try to double that for the rest of the quarters after. So yeah, I got a lot of work to do myself just to catch up to where you're at. But great job, Gabby. That's amazing.
Yeah, but then again, that type of speed, it's more like on super fast. Like imagine this studies that I'm talking about, they were called light speed.
Were those vaccine studies or the treatment, COVID treatment?
COVID treatment.
Mm.
But anything that is like vaccine or COVID treatment is pretty much like fast paced.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
don't really have that chance that you can move them around. So you're
yeah.
pretty much working
I know.
all.
And I remember like we never did any COVID vaccine studies or any even COVID treatment studies. We haven't. None of my sites that I own have done. In California, it's specialized like psychiatrics mainly. And it wasn't until I moved that we got an internal medicine doctor. And then here it's like internal medicine, but my doctor didn't want COVID studies. So we're just doing like regular, arthritis. We have a diabetes one coming up, psoriasis, eczema, those kind of things that we've been doing.
Diabetes is good.
Yeah, that one was tough to get. And I honestly think the only reason, because we gave that lead to all of our clients as well. I think they wanted like very underserved communities. I think like where I'm at, we're getting a lot of studies that other sites are not able to get necessarily because of where we're located.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed. It's easier for me here to get studies than it was in California. Because there's never been a site here. The only site is the hospital, and they've only done oncology studies and like emergency studies, like ER studies and cardio, like emergency cardio. They've never done like regular outpatient studies in this city before we came. So now, like sponsors, once they became aware, they're like, "Oh wow," and it's not to mention it's like 60% Hispanic, so
Yep.
they love it. They love it. The next step is going to be to get consistent because recruiting minorities, it has its own set of challenges. I think Hispanics are uniquely um, skeptical,
Yep.
more so than Caucasians about research. And being a Latina yourself, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
That's true. You're definitely having to deal with that. Actually, most of the population down here are not vaccinated, and they're Hispanics. So there's like this, I don't know, this idea that
Stigma. It's like a
yeah,
stigma.
yeah.
So
But
have
then
you?
again, it depends on what you're testing.
Are
Like,
you? Are you guys able to enroll? Like, have you made, as far as your site's enrollment, have you made an impact into enrolling more Hispanics, or has it been
yeah,
like what are like approximate numbers of your patients like that are in studies that are Hispanic versus
it's
Caucasian?
probably like 95% is Hispanics, and then the rest
Wow.
African Americans. Yeah, so that's our main
Wow.
thing, though. I think that when it comes to COVID, everything that's happening with the country, it's actually impacting it. But where you come into a different, like if you're doing COPD or something like that, the stigma is not that strong. It's just COVID related
Just
stigma.
COVID related. I think that too. I thought that too, but we have like simple stuff like psoriasis. I mean, I remember one patient I had, my business partner, Jaime Vaez, he's a nurse practitioner. He's one of our business partners. Sub by on everything. And we had this patient. This is like a study that's really hard to get patients for. And we had this patient with like really bad psoriasis, Spanish speakers. So Jaime had to talk to him. My wife had to talk to him. And he just kept giving us excuses like, "Oh no, I have to go out of town." And then we waited. Then he's, "Oh no, somebody died in my family." He just kept not wanting to do it, but not saying no either. So it's beyond COVID. I think it's just that it's something new that they've never heard of. They're thinking like this has got to be a scam.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
been
that's
our
true.
experiences. But so you're saying in your cases, it's been mostly like just the COVID that's been people have been skeptical on, not the other stuff.
Yeah, I think everything depends on location too. You're
Yeah,
gonna have
yeah,
this one based on your location,
yep, yep. Yeah, here it's almost exactly 50-50, like 50 Hispanic, 50 usually Caucasian. Um, all right, wow. What are your goals going forward? Like, so it's you have a one PI and then like a bunch of sub-Is, or like what is the structure that you have going on?
Well, I have one PI, our main sub I that he's always here. And then if there's if we need a specialty, we'll add the sub PI.
And how do you find the specialist? Like, let's say I get you well, you've done Alzheimer's studies, but let's say like now that I have a neurologist, I can get, let's say Parkinson's, just a hypothetical. And I say, hey, Gabby, you want some Parkinson's studies? Like, what would you do? How would you go find a neurologist?
Where our doctor is very well connected, so he has a lot of different connections, and he has
Okay.
like his own group. Even in his practice, like whenever he's gonna send to a specialist, he has a specialist that he
Yeah,
sends his patients.
yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of
Yeah.
been the case for us too. A lot of similarities for sure. So 15 studies. Do you have anything like you're excited about for the next year? Are you setting any goals for yourself for year three? Now that I'm starting year two, you're starting year three. What's your goals?
I don't know yet. I want
That's
to
good.
open the medical facility and see how this is gonna link coming together. I don't know. It
What do you
should
mean
be in.
facility? Like inpatient?
Well, I do have an inpatient. We do phase ones. Um,
Oh, you do
but
phase one.
yeah, yeah, we do phase ones. We have that capability, and we have done it in the past. But phase ones are very. It's a lot of work too.
Yeah. Do you know Carla Vera Navas?
Yeah.
She's like a phase one auditor in Miami. Wow. I gotta put you in touch with her. She can get you guys phase one studies too.
Good.
Yeah, I can't believe you haven't met. I gotta put you guys in touch. All right, I didn't know you do phase one studies. So you have like a inpatient unit that you renting, or you use it for your other business?
No, it's actually part of our facility. We have 4 rooms that you have the beds and everything.
So you're leasing that out too, well, along with your
Mm-hmm.
wow, and you leased that out from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Gabby might be my favorite like clinical research person of all time at this point. Just you leased that place like without ever doing research before. That's crazy.
Yeah. Go
You
big
just
or
went
go
for it. Go big or go home. No kidding. No wonder you're calling me all those times during in 2020.
home. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, and it looks like it's paying off too.
Remember, from your perspective, you're with the doctor. So when the sponsor comes in, they're seeing, yeah, you have the database, you have everything, you have the facility. But I'm a standalone. Like I don't have any of that, so I need the space. I need, I need to
Do
show
you
the
have
sponsor,
a
yeah, handle I can handle the study. I have the
so
space.
you
I
have
have the.
so you three ladies, you and your two employees, you guys handle all that the phase one. You have a phase one study right now?
No, I'm gonna start PK one, but
Okay,
that's only the CRC staff. But aside from that, we have the lab techs, the
I see.
pharmacists, and
I
all
see.
of, yeah.
And that's part who's paying them? Like is that part of the medical practice or
No, us.
wow. Okay.
No.
Gabby, we gotta do more podcasts. Um and we gotta definitely share study leads. Even though you're part of the client base, it's always good because I don't follow up on the leads either. Like on my to-do list, I have to go through the last 3 weeks and see which studies Julie sent me that I'm interested in.
Yeah,
Especially now that I have a neurologist, he wants studies, so I got to find him one. But we got a network. We got any advice for people out there? Like I think you took like a very risky approach, but it's paying off. Um, because
But that's the
usually
thing.
my advice is conservative.
You have to do your research, because that, at the end of the day, if you're opening a business, you have to take into consideration all these costs, and if it's actually going to work out. Because I think that everybody thinks that research is always like high, like you're gonna make money and money and money, but that's not how it works. You have like super high moments, and then you have like super low moments. It's a
Feast and
very
famine.
volatile.
And
Right.
I've had those moments in this last year, like feast or
Everybody,
famine.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing. That's the thing. Like, it's not like a regular practice. Like with a doctor, like you see the patient and one is coming in all the time, and you know you have your like fixed expense. But with
Mhm.
research, it doesn't work that way. So
In
I think it's,
future,
yeah,
in
you.
future podcasts, we got to talk about eSource and eReg because I used to think like, why do I need that? And it's been really good, like really good. So, and there's some exciting things like for Guru Nation I'm going to share later. But maybe consider that in the future because for me it's been a game changer. Like Katie and Desiree, they don't know any different because they've never used like paper source other than like a few scales. But like to do the whole study from paper to switch it to eSource has been amazing. I don't know
Really?
if that's going to be something. Yeah, I would recommend, especially with the amount of volume you guys have. Imagine just not having to just not doing headers alone is worth it. I mean, if
Not
you get
the
like
report.
40, even 10 visits a week is still like a lot. Like that's what you guys are doing for some of your other studies. So that's awesome. So Gabby, keep it going, keep it up. I'm gonna have your LinkedIn underneath. Anything else like advice for like let's say the future Gabby that's watching right now?
I don't know.
Don't do it in Homestead, Florida. Gabby's already there. That's advice
Now,
I'd give you.
location, and I
Yeah, I
mean,
wouldn't
at the
want to
end of the day,
compete
there's
against
no
you.
competition. To be honest with you, I don't think there's really competition in this field. It's
Well, I
really,
agree, but don't move to Yuma, Gabby. I don't want to compete against you. You go all in. Hats off to you and LinkedIn underneath. We're gonna do part two. Anything
soon.
else? Last advice to people before your next one? Like, give them a cliffhanger, maybe.
Mm, you're never gonna be bored with research. That's
You'll
for
never be
sure.
bored. That's true. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Gabby. It's like pretty impressive what you've done in 2 years, and I think it's an excellent example for other people. Like, you set the bar pretty high, and no wonder Chris said you're like one of our most successful clients. Chris knows. Chris knows the details. So I don't know the details. I don't even follow up on the studies I'm getting from them. So, congrats, Gabby. We'll keep in touch, and Guru Nation will see you again
Thank you.
soon. Bye bye. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Bye bye.